we're obviously all very excited about X-Men as well, and that's going to start to come together, I would imagine, pretty soon with casting. I think a lot of people are curious, like, who's going to be the lead, who's going to be our eyes and ears in that film, whether it's Scott or Jean Grey or Professor X. Can you say anything about who's the voice of the audience, who's the eyes and ears of the audience in the film?
The amount of X-Men stories that have not been told yet. The amount of X-Men stories that have not been told, not just the ones that interact with other Marvel heroes, of which there are lots, but there are sagas upon sagas upon sagas within the X-Men that we're very excited to delve into.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. So once again, we are here to discuss the X-Men.
To me, my X-Men.
To me, my X-Men!
To me, my X-Men.
To me, my X-Men.
So there's plans for the X-Men to be in the MCU after Doomsday, after Secret Wars. Apparently the universe is going to be either reset or revamped, and the X-Men is going to be the flagship team for the MCU going forward. There have been a lot of videos, YouTube videos, TikTok videos, Instagram reels, Instagram posts, Reddit posts. A lot of you guys are giving your opinions of what you want to see from an MCU X-Men team. And a lot of your concepts regarding an MCU X-Men team and their version of the movies that you guys want to see, the storylines, the characters, they suck. They're terrible, 0 out of 10, no originality, no type of excitement. It's the same cliche bullshit. And I'm just like, all right, it's time for the resident X-Men nerds, the ones that actually read the comments, to give their takes of what they want to see from an X-Men movie within the MCU. Because the stuff that y'all putting out there is like they've already been done. You guys are saying things that's already been done in the Fox films. And if they weren't done in the Fox films, then you guys have seen it from the adaptations of like X-Men 97 or X-Men Evolution. And it's like, can we please think outside the box? Can we please think outside the box? Can we get some originality? Can we get some creativity? Why are you guys trying to do the same old bull? Somebody mentioned like, oh yeah, I want to see Jean Grey be the Phoenix. That happened in X-Men 3, The Last Stand, and in X-Men Dark Phoenix. A lot of people say, oh, I want to see the X-Men go against humans. That happened in X-Men 2. The villain was William Stryker. That happened. And then you saw those elements again in X-Men Days of Future Past when they were fighting the Sentinels and fighting Bolivar Trask. That happened. Then a lot of y'all are saying, oh, I want to see the first 5 X-Men. I want to see a younger version of the X-Men. I want to see them morph from teenage to adulthood. That happened. We got that in X-Men First Class. And that movie sucked, in my personal opinion. It's been done before. It's been done already. And I've seen other people say, oh, I want the big bad to be Apocalypse. Apocalypse has been done. There's a whole movie called X-Men Apocalypse. It's like, is that all you guys know from the X-Men? Of course that's all you know, because you guys don't read the comics. Duh. So that's what we're going to be discussing for this video. I am going to give you guys, as the resident X-Men nerd, a full-blown X-Men nerd, what I will want to see in different, unique, out-of-the-box concepts that the MCU should dive in when portraying the X-Men on full screen. So yeah, we're gonna dive right into that, but before I do, theme song. Now, as far as like the type of movies that I want to see from the X-Men and the MCU, I want to see 4 films in the first phase. I don't want to see no solo films from any of the characters. A lot of these characters can do solo films, but I don't want to see any solo films from any X-Men characters. I want it to strictly be about the X-Men and the X-Men as a team and the X-Men as a family. So no solo movies for any X-Men characters. I want 4 films, like a trilogy, plus an additional film that I feel like is needed, but I'm going to dive into that topic later on. But yeah, I want 4 films regarding the X-Men. And if these 4 films do well, then we can continue and expand the X-Men lore. So then next up, let's talk about the characters, but let's talk about the characters that I do not want to see in the MCU X-Men films. I don't want to say ever, but as of right now, leave them out of it. And it's only 3 characters. Actually, it's 4 characters. I don't want to see Charles Xavier. I don't want to see Magneto. I do not want to see Jean Grey. And I do not want to see Wolverine. Leave them out of it. Now, regarding Charles Xavier, I personally do not have a problem with Charles Xavier. I know a lot of people across the internet regarding X-Men fans, they cannot stand Charles Xavier. They do not fuck with him for a plethora of reasons. And I understand their reasons, but we don't share those same reasons. I personally do not have a problem with Charles Xavier. I just don't want to see Charles Xavier in the MCU X-Men. Not right now. And I do not want to see Magneto. The reason why I do not want to see Charles and Magneto in the MCU X-Men is because I'm tired of them. I am so sick of that concept. The Xavier versus Magneto ideology bullshit. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. It's been done over and over and over and over again across any form of X-Men media. You're going to see Charles and Magneto arguing over the same old talking points. And it's just like, give it a rest. Because canonically, in the comics, both their ideologies failed. And Scott Summers and the rest of the X-Men, they had to save the mutant community based off of the status quo of survival. So Charles Xavier ideology of protecting the humans, protecting those that hate and fear us, and fighting to be a part of the system, that was a failure. Magneto's ideology of mutants being the superior race, mutants being above human beings, mutants should take over the world, that was also a failure. So I'm so tired of seeing X-Men media honor those old ass outdated ideologies from Charles and Magneto. Just get rid of both of them in the MCU X-Men. Just don't bring them in. Just don't bring him in. So no Charles Xavier, but also to the Magneto point, I am so sick and tired of Magneto getting standout moments in X-Men media. So if you take a look back at all the old X-Men films, you're going to see several shots of Magneto just having a solo moment of using his powers and allowing his powers to be on full display. Magneto is not an X-Men member. Magneto is a villain. Now, of course, he has joined the X-Men canonically in the comics, but we're not talking about that. I am so sick and tired of writers and directors and producers always pushing Magneto's powers to the limit and having solo moments in these films. So people are so drawn and are romanticizing his powers. Those moments need to be saved for actual X-Men members. I don't want to see Magneto moving the San Francisco bridge across the state lines. Jean Grey can do that. So allow somebody like Jean Grey to do that, you know? Or give the solo moment to people like Storm or like Gambit or like Scott Summers. Stop giving solo moments to Magneto. Like, one of the things I appreciated with Days of Future Past is when they gave a solo moment to Quicksilver. Yes, because that was like an out of the box character, and you are able to appreciate and love his powers because they are being displayed on a grand scale. I'm tired of that being done for Magneto. I want those moments to be distributed among X-Men characters. So that's another reason why I do not want to see Magneto in these X-Men films. I'm not going to say never, but as of right now, no Magneto, no Charles Xavier. Next up, I don't want to see Jean Grey. I love Jean. She is the first lady of the X-Men. I do not want to see Jean in these movies. We could save Jean for a way later moment, but I do not want to see Jean in these movies, and I do not want any type of Phoenix concepts being displayed in these films. Get rid of the Phoenix. We are tired. It's been done over and over and over again. Anytime I hear Jean say,
I am Phoenix! I am Phoenix!
I just roll my eyes like, all right, what's next? Like, bruh, I'm so over that big ass golden bird. Jean Grey is way more interesting without the Phoenix, and I'm so tired of X-Men writers attaching the Phoenix to her. Like, she is an Omega level telepath, and she is an Omega level telekinetic without the Phoenix. So stop bringing the Phoenix in, acting like she needs the Phoenix in order to be an Omega level mutant. No, 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 and no. That's number one. And number two, as I said earlier, the Phoenix concept was already used in X-Men 3, The Last Stand, and X-Men Dark Phoenix. What would be the purpose of bringing in the Phoenix again? Oh, so it can be done right a third time? How about not at all? How about not at all? There's so many other storylines that we can use for the X-Men. The Phoenix, the Dark Phoenix storyline, no. It's been done over and over again. It's been done in X-Men the animated series. It's been done in Wolverine and X-Men. It's been done in X-Men 97. It was done in the X-Men anime series. I'm tired of the Phoenix, and I'm tired of Jean Grey being this Phoenix. I love Jean Grey to death, but do not put her in these MCU X-Men films, and do not put the Phoenix. And the last person that I do not want to see in any of the MCU X-Men films is Wolverine. I'm so tired of Wolverine. I'm so tired of Wolverine. Wolverine just had to be played by Hugh Jackman, and Hugh Jackman became like one of the biggest box office movie stars across the globe. I don't care. I don't care. I have an appreciation for Hugh Jackman. He did a phenomenal job as Wolverine, but I am tired of Wolverine. Out of all of the characters surrounding X-Men lore, Wolverine is literally the least interesting X-Men character. But y'all would not believe that because he's so pushed in the forefront. A lot of people, when they think of the X-Men, they immediately think of Wolverine. Why? Because he has the claws. No other superhero has claws in their hands. I mean, I can acknowledge Wolverine's popularity and his impact. All of us was in kindergarten and first grade and second grade putting pencils in between our knuckles and pretending that we were Wolverine and slicing and dicing against our classmates. I understand that. But again, we got to think outside the box. Don't bring Wolverine in this. Just save him for a later day. But as far as like Wolverine and the whole Weaponette storyline, as far as like Wolverine and the whole fighting the hand storyline, as far as like the Wolverine and the love triangle between him, Scott, and Jean, I'm tired. I'm annoyed. I'm over it. Wolverine. Wolverine. Like, I don't want to see Wolverine in these movies. I don't. And there are, again, a plethora of X-Men characters that are way more interesting and have way more to offer than Wolverine. I promise you. This is coming from an X-Men comic book reader. I promise you. Don't put Wolverine in these films. Also, hot take, another concept that I do not want to see adapted in the MCU films. I do not want this to be a mutant versus human situation. This is a very hot take because a lot of y'all know about the mutant community and know there's this big divide of humans versus mutants. I do not want that concept to be introduced. I do not want to see William Stryker. I don't want to see Bastion. I don't want to see Bolivar Trask. I don't want to see Henry Garrick. And I do not want to see any Sentinels. I want this to be strictly about the mutants. I want the villains to be mutants. I don't want the villains to be a bunch of humans and a bunch of robots. Don't introduce that concept. Do not do it. Do not do it. I promise y'all gonna be like, wait, what are we talking about? Just walk with me. Wait till we get to the end of the video and I will explain why. But as of right now, for my first 4 movies, I do not want a human versus mutant situation. And I do not want the X-Men to be in between fighting for the mutant community, but also defending the human nations. As I said, this is why I do not want Charles Xavier or Magneto in these films, because I don't want that concept of mutants versus humans to be in these films. I don't want that concept to be introduced yet. Just bear with me. I will explain why. And that's going to be near the end of the video. But none of the humans versus mutants and the X-Men representing an oppressed group. No. And I will explain why. So yeah, no Charles, no Magneto, no Wolverine, no Jean Grey. So who do I want on the X-Men team? Well, let's start with the number. I only want 6 team members. That's right, 6. I don't want a full-blown X-Men roster as of yet. We need to start with a concise number, and the number needs to be 6. And the reason why I chose the number 6 is because of the Astonishing X-Men series. If you go back and read the run written by Joss Whedon, the Astonishing X-Men series is the right amount of team members because you are able to witness the dynamics among the team. And each character has their own moment. Each character has their own dynamic, their own storylines, and it works. And that is what they need to bring on screen. I don't want to see an X-Men team of like 15 people. Just like the first Avengers movies, it was 6 heroes. So same thing with the X-Men movies. It needs to be 6 heroes. And if you read any of the Astonishing X-Men runs, 6 is a golden number. It is a concise team. Each member is able to have a moment. Each member is able to showcase a dynamic among the team, and it's going to cause for good storytelling. So 6 X-Men team members is what I want. So let's get into the roster. Number 1, Scott Summers. Hands down. Scott Summers is the king of the X-Men. Not Wolverine, Scott Summers. As I said earlier, I do not want Charles Xavier in these films, so I want Scott Summers to be the headmaster of the Institute. I want everything to be about Scott Summers. I want the school to be named after Scott Summers. As a matter of fact, you can keep it as a Xavier Institute for Higher Learning. As a matter of fact, I take that point back. Let the school be named after Scott Summers. I just want Scott Summers to be in that position, to be the headmaster of the school, to be the main leader of the X-Men. I want Scott Summers' leadership skills to be on full display. I want his tactical skills and how he thinks and how he deploys people for certain missions. So one of the main reasons why I love Scott Summers is because he stepped into that role that Magneto and Charles are always known for. As I said, their ideologies have been pushed in all X-Men media. But in the comics, both of their ideologies failed. Once the mutant genocide happened, when the Sentinel attacked Genosha and killed millions of mutants, once Scarlet Witch said no more mutants and obliterated the X gene for millions of more mutants, so many moments happened that threatened the mutant community as a whole. In the mutant community, they were not looking towards Charles Xavier. He wasn't there. They were not looking towards Magneto. He wasn't there. They were not even looking towards Apocalypse. He wasn't there. Scott Summers is the one that stepped up to save the mutant community. It was about survival. It wasn't about protecting the humans, protecting the people that hate and fear us. It wasn't about mutants becoming the king of the world. No, it was strictly about survival. It was strictly about not allowing the mutants to become extinct. And because of the era that I'm referring to, it was Messiah Complex, and then it was Messiah War, and then it was Second Coming. Seeing Scott Summers in those books step up to the plate and replace both Magneto and Charles Xavier, it was one of the best things ever. And that is the type of Scott Summers that need to be adapted in the MCU films. That's the Scott Summers that I want to see. Scott Summers, like I said, he's the king of the X-Men. He is the GOAT. He is the #1 best X-Men leader, and that's who I want to see adapted in the MCU film. The next person on my roster, without a doubt, Storm. Hands down, you gotta have Storm a part of this X-Men team. Storm needs to be on full display. Give us Queen, Omega level mutant Storm within your top 5. Storm is literally Queen. She's literally that girl. She is the blueprint for the superhero. Bring in Storm. I want Storm to also be an X-Men leader. Just like you saw in the Avengers movies where they balance out the leadership roles between Captain America and Iron Man, you do the same thing with Scott Summers and Storm. Scott and Storm's leaderships, their difference, their tactics, their style, how they lead the team, they are completely different. Cyclops is the leader that fights for the people, and Storm is the leader that fights with the people. Both approaches are so extremely necessary, and they need to be demonstrated on the big screen. Like, both of them need their respects for being the most beloved X-Men leaders and being two of the most successful X-Men leaders, but also show the difference. Also show some of the like brother and sister clashes of leading the team. They respect each other, they love each other, but also at the same time, they lead the X-Men team differently. Show that. Like I said, balance it out. Just like you balanced it out with Steve Rogers and Tony Stark, do the same thing with Storm and Cyclops. Because it's like Cyclops, Scott Summers, he leads the X-Men to defend a mutant nation. And meanwhile with Storm, she leads a mutant nation in order to keep the ideals and her people free. So yeah, show Storm as a badass second in command leader. Also, regarding Storm's powers, I want her powers to be displayed on a massive scale. Do not put Storm in these films and all y'all doing is having her shoot lightning. Storm is an Omega level mutant. She controls the weather. The weather, people. The weather. All you have to do is Google elements of the weather, and whatever the results pop up, that's what you need to have Storm do. Just like you demonstrated Thor's powers within the MCU, controlling the elements, do the same thing with Storm, but do it on a grander scale. As I said, Storm controls the weather, people. The weather. The weather includes hurricanes, tornadoes, blizzards, hail, thunderstorms, flash floods, dust storms, temperature manipulation. Show it all. Storm controls the weather. Storm is an Omega level mutant. Show these powers on full display. That is why I said I do not want Magneto in these films. Because if you put Magneto in these films, he's going to have all these solo moments showing how he can utilize and manipulate metal. I don't want to see that. I want to see those moments given to Storm. I want to see those moments given to Scott too, but I want those moments given to Storm. So yeah. The next person I want to see on the X-Men team, Emma Frost. Hands down, Emma Frost. This is why I'm saying think outside the box. Bring in Emma Frost. Do not include the backstory of her working for the Hellfire Club. That's been done. That was in X-Men First Class, and the actress that played Emma Frost, she did a terrible job. The writers and the directors, they did a terrible job displaying Emma Frost. No. I don't want to see Emma Frost in her villain era. I just want to see Emma Frost be a part of the team. Emma Frost has been an X-Men team member since the year of 2000. It is 2026. That means she has been a X-Men team member longer than she's been a villain. I need everybody to let go of her villainous past. Emma Frost is a hero. She is an X-Men. So let's think outside the box and let's bring Emma Frost in as a hero. Emma Frost, she is a very different archetype from other well-known superhero women. And the reason why I'm saying this is because Emma Frost, number one, she's hot as f***. Number two, the bitch knows how to dress. Number three, she has a very snobby, bitchy, elitist attitude. And number four, Emma Frost is never going to be a damsel in distress. She's not that girl. She doesn't need a man to save her. She can save herself. I want that energy. I want that persona on the X-Men team. Emma Frost is going to bring the looks. She's going to bring the power scaling because she is an Omega class telepath. She's not an Omega level mutant, but she is an Omega class telepath. And she can turn her body into diamonds. So that unique factor. Her powers are very unique. She's going to bring the attitude, she's going to bring the drama, she's going to bring the powers, she's going to bring the leadership, because Emma Frost is, in my opinion, Emma Frost is very underrated and underappreciated as a leader, because she is a bomb-ass leader. She is also a bomb-ass professor, and she's a better girlfriend than Jean. I like Scott with Emma Frost more than I like Scott with Jean. Emma and Scott is a far better couple, and I can do a whole separate video as to why that is. But yeah, Emma Frost is something different, it's something unique. And then on the plus side, Emma Frost and Storm, they have a major rivalry. They do not get along whatsoever. Bring that on the screen. Have Emma and Storm clashing back to back to back, because that's how it is in the comics. So have that on screen. Emma Frost is going to shake up the drama. She is going to rub people the wrong way while still be a hero. That's what I want to see. Bring in Emma Frost. The next person I want on the team is Gambit. Gambit is one of the most popular X-Men team members, X-Men characters ever. People love Gambit. This is why I say you don't need Wolverine, because you got Gambit. Let Gambit be that unpredictable wild card. Let Gambit be the face of the X-Men, as y'all seen Wolverine be the face of the X-Men for so many decades. Gambit has a complicated backstory with a shady past with villainous ties. His powers are extremely cool, along with his personality, his accent. People love Gambit. He's just that guy. Straight up aura. That's him. He's that guy. He is the pretty boy of the X-Men. Ladies find him attractive. He is a womanizer, even though he's obsessed with Rogue. Bring that to the screens. Let the people love and romanticize Gambit. The X-Men can survive without Wolverine. The X-Men can survive without Magneto, or without Charles, or without Jean. Why? Because we got Gambit. Lean into Gambit's popularity and have him be the face of the X-Men in the MCU. No, I said that Scott is the king of the X-Men, and he is, and Storm is the queen of the X-Men, and she is, but Gambit, he's one of the most popular, well-known X-Men. As a matter of fact, I'm going to reach and say Gambit is the most popular X-Men character. I said what I said, and I'm ready for the backlash. Bring in my boy Gambit. The next person on my team is Magic, Illyana Rasputin. This is why I said think outside the box. Bring in my girl Magic. She's so badass. And I know people know who Magic is because of Marvel Rivals, because of Midnight Suns, the video game, because of any of these games that Marvel has been releasing within the past couple of years, and including Magic in those games. People love Magic. She is a slender, blonde, with a bitchy attitude. She's not that much of a bitch compared to Emma, but yeah, Magic definitely has a smart mouth. Illyana, she's a whole sorceress. She knows all sorts of magic tricks and whatnot. She got this big ass sword, so you know she know how to fight. But also she has the power to teleport. She can use her skills to teleport people. That's her mutant powers. So yeah, Magic is just a fun character to stand, and I want to see Magic in the MCU films. Bring in my girl Magic. Let her serve as like the younger generation of the X-Men. Since a lot of people are so big fans of X-Men Evolution, you want somebody young? Put Magic on the team. Don't make her a teenager, make her a young lady. Bring in Magic on the team. Now, I don't know what the happened with this part of the video. Everything else saved except this one part, so that's why I'm recording the audio. But for the last person that I want to be a part of my MCU X-Men team, it is Gentle. His real name is Nesno. Nesno is an obscure character. He's a part of the new X-Men lineup. That's the same team with X-23, Surge, Dust, and Prodigy. He is Wakandan. His powers is to grow his body in size and obtain super strength. Nesno has a very traumatic backstory. His father is actually a white guy, and he impregnated his black mother, who is Wakandan, and Nesno is considered a half-breed of the entire country. The people of Wakanda discriminate against him because he does not have 100% Wakandan blood, which is so crazy to me that a country full of black people are discriminating against somebody that is biracial. So Nesno, he gets it both ways. He gets hated on because he's biracial, and he gets hated on because he's a mutant. On top of that, his mother is an abusive piece of shit. During Nesno's upbringing, he was physically and mentally abused as a child because his mother viewed him as an embarrassment and a mistake, which is off the wall crazy. You're the one that had sex with his father. You're the one that decided to give birth to the child. And now you're embarrassed. You're ashamed of your child because he's not 100% Wakandan and he's a mutant. The reason why he is because of your decisions. And instead of you being a quality mother, you decide to abuse him physically and mentally. It's ridiculous. But that is why I want him on the current X-Men roster, because he fits right in. There are so many X-Men characters that have tragic backstories, and their backstories fuels their decision making on why they want to be a hero being a part of the X-Men. So Nesno, he will fit right in. A couple of other reasons why I want Gentle, aka Nesno, to be a part of my MCU live action X-Men team. Number one, his ties to Wakanda can potentially produce good ass crossover stories with Black Panther and the X-Men. Number two, Nesno, he deserves the spotlight. He's not utilizing any live action. He's not utilizing any animation adaptation. Nesno is only seen in the comics and is rare. So he deserves the spotlight. Number three, as I said earlier, his backstory is very unique, very different, very traumatic, and all of those elements are good for a dramatic live action movie. Number four, this is the most important reason. Nesno has visible mutation. If you look at him, you can tell that he is a mutant. Majority of the X-Men, people like Scott, Emma Frost, Storm, Jean, Polaris, Havoc, whoever, they can pass as human beings because you don't know if they are mutants until they use their powers. I want somebody on the main X-Men roster to represent mutants that have visible mutation, meaning that their X gene affects the way that they look. When you look at them, you can tell that they are a mutant. So I just need one person on the X-Men roster to represent the many mutants out there that have been physically affected by their X gene. So yeah, bring on my boy Gentle. Real name, Nesno. All right, so now let's dive into the concept of my 4 movie ideas. Now, as I said earlier, I do not want the storyline or the theme of the X movies to be mutants versus humans. We're gonna save that dynamic for a later point, but I feel like the humans versus mutants storyline, that's like the only main thing that is always perpetuated in X-Men media. I'm sick of it. It's more to the X-Men's lore besides that. So yeah, as of right now, we're not going to deal with that. No Sentinels, no Bolivar Trask, no Bastion, no Henry Gyrick, none of that. No Master Mode, none of that. For this first movie, I want it to be the stereotypical heroes versus villains. I want my roster of the X-Men versus the villains. And the villain that I want to be in the first movie is Exodus. Exodus is an Omega level mutant. He is a powerful telekinetic. He is a powerful telepath, and he is a teleporter. He is a man out of time, similar to Captain America. He was born in, I want to say, like the 18th or 19th century. He gained his powers through Apocalypse. That was such a wild storyline in itself. He was originally born and raised in Paris. Exodus is a very underrated and underappreciated X-Men villain. So if you have Exodus be the main big bad for the first movie and bring on the Acolytes, because Exodus was one of the leaders of the Acolytes after Magneto, it's going to be a heroes versus villain showdown. And I would just love to see an Omega level mutant like Storm going toe to toe with Exodus, or like it was shown in the comics, Emma Frost, an Omega class telepath, going toe to toe with Exodus, because they had a telepathic battle and Emma Frost won that battle. So yeah, I want to see Exodus. We have to expand the X-Men's role gallery. I don't want another Magneto-induced film. Let's think outside the box. Bring in Exodus and his acolytes. So yeah, film 1, let it be a heroes versus villain movie. The X-Men versus Exodus and his acolytes. Film 2 is going to be a very unique and dramatic film. because it's going to shake up the dynamics of the X-Men and it's going to shake up the dynamics of the mutant community. I want film 2 to be about the Morlocks. And the reason why I want it to be about the Morlocks, for those that may not know, the Morlocks are an underground mutant community that have visible mutations. As I mentioned earlier, Scott, Storm, Gambit, Emma Frost, Wolverine, whatever X-Men team member you name, they can pass as humans, even though they have powers. They can pass as humans because they are mutants, but their X gene does not affect their physical appearance. Even though Scott Summers is blind because of his mutation and he needs a special type of glasses, their regular appearance is human form. They look human. And one criticism that I can say about the X-Men, and I wish it was explored more in X-Men comics, is they don't dive into the caste system of the mutant community. They don't dive into elements of pretty privilege. They don't speak on how the X-Men are palatable. Because the majority of the characters on the X-Men look like human beings, their mutant genes does not affect their physical appearance. They are more, I don't want to say acceptable, but they are more tolerated in the public space. Because again, they look like humans even though they're mutants. The Morlocks, on the other hand, the X gene affects their physical appearance. Their powers are based on how they look. They have different skins. They have different limbs. They have different features. The majority of the members of the Morlocks and their physical appearance is going to scare the public. People are going to deem them as monsters. They cannot help the way how they were born, and they cannot help the way how their mutation affected their physical appearance. And so the Morlocks, they're outcasts, and they live in the sewers. And it's a f***ed up situation because when Charles Xavier was recruiting X-Men members, he recruited people that looked palatable. Charles Xavier recruited people that have the X gene, but they can still pass as humans because they look human, even though they are mutants. Charles Xavier did not recruit mutants that visibly look like mutants. You can see their mutation based off of their physical appearance. So I want the second movie to dive into that. I want the Morlocks to be an antagonistic force against the X-Men, pretty much calling them up and calling them out. I want the Morlocks to put it out there that the X-Men do not care about the mutant community unless they look like pretty ass mutants, unless they can pass for looking like human beings. But they don't care about the mutants that are suffering with their visible mutation. I want that element to be called up and called out against the X-Men. And to have somebody like Emma Frost who values her looks. Emma Frost is very superficial, and Emma Frost practiced elitism. So I want someone like Emma Frost to be that main antagonistic force against the Morlocks, to look down on mutants that look like the Morlocks. And it's going to cause a divide on the X-Men team. Storm would be that type of person that's going to advocate for the Morlocks, but also place accountability on herself and place accountability on all the other X-Men, because it's like, yeah, we don't really cherish all mutants. We only been cherishing mutants that pass as human beings. I feel like Scott would be a little bit divided on the issue, but I also feel like Scott will find himself to be guilty. Like, yeah, you're right, but I don't even know how to navigate this. But I also want to be on the side of Emma Frost, but I also want to be on the side of right. I feel like Gambit will have Storm's back. I feel like Magic will be on the side of Emma Frost. And Gentle, this is why I wanted Gentle to be on the team. Gentle actually has a visible mutation. His powers are based off of his physical appearance. He can grow big and grow strong. And he has these tattoos on his skin that help him control his mutant powers. So that's why I wanted Gentle to be on the team. I wanted Gentle to be on the X-Men to represent mutants that have visible mutations. Their powers affect their physical appearance. So I want that conversation and I want that divide among the mutant community. It's going to cause a lot of conflict. It's going to cause a lot of drama. And it's going to have the audience think like, well, damn, whose side are you on? Because the X-Men, they are quote unquote the good guys. They are fighting for the betterment of the mutant community. But they are also turning a blind eye against the mutants that don't pass as human beings, that have visible mutations. So yeah, I definitely want the Morlocks to be in the second film, but for a switch up, instead of Callisto being the leader of the Morlocks, I want the leader of the Morlocks to be Mystique, because Mystique has visible mutation. Even though she has the ability to shapeshift, she still prides herself as a mutant that she is comfortable in her blue skin. And the only time she needs to shapeshift is when she's infiltrating somewhere, or she needs to steal something, or she needs to do something for herself. I want Mystique to lead the Morlocks. And also, ever since X-Men First Class, a lot of people have been believing that Mystique is some big anti-hero, which is absolutely not the case. I actually hated the way that they portrayed Mystique in the X-Men First Class and the X-Men Apocalypse and the X-Men Dark Phoenix movies. It was just a 0 out of 10. I love Jennifer Lawrence, but I love her in the Hunger Games. The X-Men movies, that's a no. But I said all this to say, we're not even going to take that route. I don't mind Mystique being a villain, but I more so want Mystique to be that antagonistic force calling out the X-Men on their bullshit. That's why I want her to be the leader of the Morlocks. And to switch things up, I also want the Morlocks community, I wanted to have Mystique's children. I wanted to have Rogue, and I wanted to have Nightcrawler. I want them to be a part of the Morlocks. I want the conflict between the X-Men and the Morlocks to get so bad that, you know, when the X-Men defeat the Morlocks or when they accept accountability, Nightcrawler and Rogue actually decides to join the X-Men, and it's going to cause a divide between Rogue and Mystique and Nightcrawler and Mystique as well. Because in the comics, Mystique has always had a vendetta against Charles Xavier because Rogue decided to join the X-Men instead of staying with her in Destiny. So yeah, I want the conflict between the X-Men and the Morlocks to reach a head in the second film. I want the X-Men to prevail, and I want them to prevail so bad to the point that Rogue and Nightcrawler decides to leave their mother, leave the Morlocks, and join the X-Men. I want the second film to be based off of storytelling and dramatic elements, the elements of pretty privilege, the elements of a caste system, the elements of elitism, the elements of judging somebody for their physical appearance before you get to know them. I want to see that internal conflict within the mutant community. That's what I want to see. So yeah, film 2 is going to be extremely dramatic. That's what I want to see. There's a lot going on. I know it's not going to happen, but I might as well put the idea out there. All right, now for film 3 in the X-Men MCU, I'm going to take a page for the MCU playbook, and I'm going to take it out of the X-Men for a minute, and we're going to take it into space. So just like how the MCU introduced the Guardians of the Galaxy, they introduced a whole separate team of underground characters, established the team, and they got their own trilogy, and they had their own storyline, and their storyline actually interconnected with the Avengers eventually. We're going to do the same thing for the X-Men, because the X-Men have ties to space, and the X-Men has a plethora of characters to bring forth some type of space element into this film. The third movie is going to be called The Starjammers. So what's going to happen is Scott Summers is going to assemble a different team of X-Men. It's going to be his brother, Havoc. It's going to be Polaris. It's going to be Colossus. It's going to be Psylocke. It's going to be Sync. And it's going to be Iceman. Now, the reason why I chose these team members to send them into space is because this is a very unique team, and their powers are extremely unique. And one thing about the X-Men is they have control over their powers and they never want to like let loose, because if they let loose, it can be devastating to the people on Earth. But they're going into space. And in space, you have to let loose because there are so many different alien species and races that are powerful, and they do not fight with the same type of consideration for the public or consideration for property damage. So whoever you're sending into space, they have to have that dog in them. They have to have the balls to let loose and let their powers roam free, because it's really going to be survival in space. I want the Space X-Men to have dealings with the Shi'ar Empire. The Shi'ar Empire is a bird type of species. They are ruled by Lilandra, but the overall conflict with the Shi'ar Empire is Daken, who is Lilandra's brother, and Deathbird, who is Lilandra's sister. Both of them are evil. And Lilandra is like the only good ruler out of her 3 siblings. And the problem is, the both of them are always trying to take the throne. But if Daken takes the throne, that is a deadly decision, because the both of them, they are psychotic. They are power hungry. They are all about flexing the might of the Shi'ar Empire. And Lilandra knows that. Lilandra is a person that's not about war, but Daken and Deathbird, they are about war. And the Shi'ar are bullies if they are under the wrong regime. And Lilandra, her main duty is to make sure that the throne and the empire and the power of the Shi'ar is not in the wrong hands, because the Shi'ar can devastate planets. They have the resources, they have the technology, they have the power, they have the Imperial Guard to do that. I want the Shi'ar and the space elements of the X-Men to be in these films. I want the X-Men, Havoc's team, to go into space, join the Starjammers, and the conflict of this is going to bring out more dramatic elements. We're going to be introducing Vulcan. Vulcan is the 3rd brother of Scott Summers and Alex Summers. He is an Omega level mutant. Energy blast can't even fit on the scale. It's like Scott times Havoc times 3,000. Vulcan is a powerful beast. And what's going to happen is Vulcan is going to take over the throne. He's going to kill Daken, he's going to kill Deathbird, and he's going to try to kill Lilandra, because he wants to assume power over the Shi'ar Empire, even though Vulcan is not Shi'ar. I want the Starjammers to assist Corsair to fight. I want the dramatic elements of Corsair and Alex coming to the revelation that Vulcan is their 3rd brother and Vulcan is Corsair's 3rd son. I want the X-Men to defeat Vulcan, save the Empire, save Lilandra. But then I want Vulcan to seek revenge, and he's going to leave the Shi'ar Empire, and he's going to be headed towards planet Earth to bring some destruction. Vulcan is going to be the big bad of these series. Movie 1, Exodus. Movie 2, Mystique and the Morlocks. But the big bad is Vulcan. Vulcan is going to be in my 3rd film, The Starjammers, but he's also going to be in the 4th film. Vulcan is going to be a big threat. Even though the Starjammers save Lilandra and they defeat Vulcan, he's still going to have control over the Shi'ar Empire. And so that the X-Men do not stop him, he decides to transport the Shi'ar Imperial Guard, transport his troops, transport his armies to attack planet Earth, just because the man is just evil and unstable. And what's going to happen is Vulcan is going to be heading to planet Earth to bring a whole lot of destruction. And then Scott Summers is going to get the revelation that Vulcan is his younger brother. A brother that he didn't know he even had. So the 4th movie is going to be all of the X-Men versus Vulcan. As I said earlier, Vulcan is an Omega level mutant. He is the leader of the Imperial Guard. He is the leader of the Shi'ar Empire, and he's going to bring death and destruction. And it's going to be the X-Men versus the Shi'ar Empire. That's going to be the fourth film. I want them to cut loose. Storm has defeated Vulcan several times in the comics before, so that's not going to be a challenge for her, but still, I want Vulcan's destruction to be on a massive scale. He doesn't even need the Shi'ar help. He is just going to cause havoc on Earth just because he can, and just because he's seeking revenge. I want Vulcan to cut loose. I want a fight between Vulcan and Cyclops. I want that exchange. I want that dramatic element. I want everything. I want make it a big CGI fight. I do not care. It's going to be all the X-Men taking down Vulcan, but defending the Earth from the Shi'ar Empire. That's going to be the fourth and final film out of my series of MCU X-Men. That's what I want to see on screen. That's what I'm talking about. I want that thinking outside the box element. I then gave y'all Exodus and the Acolytes. I then gave y'all the Morlocks, but I decided to put Mystique be the leader of the Morlocks. In the third movie, I gave y'all Vulcan. I gave y'all the Shi'ar Empire. In the fourth movie, we're going to keep Vulcan again because he is the brother of Scott and Alex and the son of Corsair. I'm giving y'all different elements that can be utilized to the full power in these X-Men films within the MCU. I just feel like my X-Men films is like bangers on top of bangers on top of bangers. And they're comic related. I just want these X-Men films to just think outside the box and just go ham and just deal with elements that haven't been dealt with before. Now, I'm gonna circle back to a point I said earlier. The reason why I did not want a human versus mutant concept storyline in any of these films is because I wanted those four films to take place first. I wanted the human population, the public, the governments to have receipts of the X-Men versus Exodus, of the X-Men versus the Marauders and the Morlocks, of the X-Men versus Vulcan and the Shi'ar Empire. I wanted these three big examples to affect the Earth and affect the countries and have the human population see how dangerous mutants are, because with all of these events, they almost lost their lives at the hands of evil mutants. So with that being said, the next phase would be introducing William Stryker and Henry Gyrick and Bolivar Trask, and introducing the concept of the Sentinels, and introducing the concept of the Purifiers, and introducing the concept of Master Mode and Bastion. Because the humans are rising up and they are the accountability against the mutant community. Because Vulcan almost destroyed this entire planet with an alien invasion of the Shi'ar Empire. That is how you introduce the Sentinels. That is how you introduce the concepts of humans versus mutants. Because now that the audience sees it for themselves, they can understand why humans have a problem with mutants. So that's why I wanted to say that for later on. But that's what I want to see out of the MCU X-Men. Now, I know these ideas are like never going to happen unless, you know, some producer just runs across this video. But I'm just going to put it out there. I'm a big X-Men nerd. So the MCU X-Men, it can't disappoint. It can't disappoint. I'm going to be hurt. I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be on this channel going off. Like, oh my God, we doing the same over and over and over again. And as I said earlier, a lot of y'all takes on what y'all want to see out of the MCU X-Men, it's been done. So cliche. You've seen it before. You've seen it in one of the Fox films. You've seen it in one of the cartoon shows, X-Men Evolution, Wolverine and X-Men, X-Men 97, X-Men Animated Series, X-Men the Anime Show. Think outside the box, people. And I feel like with my concepts, even though my 4 films, there's a lot going on, I'm not gonna lie. But again, that's where I'm coming from. I want you guys to think outside the box. The X-Men, they are not the Avengers. They are not the Guardians of the Galaxy. They are not the Fantastic Four. They are different. And we love the X-Men for being different. So if you're going to adapt the X-Men on screen under the umbrella of the MCU, and the MCU has this track record of bomb-ass movies, give it all for the X-Men. So yeah, y'all, those are my takes. Those are my storylines. Those are my rosters. Those are my ideas for what I want to see for the X-Men in the MCU. Let me hear your thoughts. You guys always give me your thoughts. Sometimes it's good thoughts. Sometimes it's like, oh my God, this just called me stupid. And sometimes it's just like paragraphs like, yo, okay, I don't know I was going to be reading a dissertation about this topic, but I welcome it. I welcome all the feedback. I absolutely welcome it. This is a safe space for us to engage and have debates and have discussions. So yeah, just sound off in the comment section. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.